you guys seen me pulling this thing in. It was knocking very heavy. So now we're gonna pull the motor out and get this thing done. I already have a used motor to put in it. So I'm gonna pull the motor out, take a look over everything, refresh everything, all the gaskets, see if there's any leaks on the new motor that he got. If there's any leaks, we're gonna repair the leaks and put the motor back in and get this thing back on the road. So the problem I think that happened here, guys, is that sometimes here people don't worry about warming up the car in the morning before, driving. They just get in, start and go. So this car is very sensitive because it has to be warmed up to the operating temperature, because what happens is metal, it dilates, right? It has its original size when it's cold, but once you warm it up, it gets to the correct gaps, right? That the engineers engineer the car to be running at, but that's operating temperatures. If you run the car cold, the gaps are gonna be different. The clearance in the motor is gonna be different. Everything is gonna be different. So if it's physics. Warm up metal, it's gonna expand. Cold metal, it's gonna retract. So that gap and that clearance is gonna be a lot more when the car's cold. So if you hop in it and you beat on it, high chance that it's gonna go bad and it's gonna spin a bearing or start knocking because of the bearing, or rings could go bad. So this is what happened here. Engine is knocking pretty bad. You guys heard me pulling in. So now we're gonna take this thing apart. For those who don't know, this is an N54 motor, very known for, people do a lot of single turbo swap on these things. It currently has twin turbo. It comes with twin turbos from factory. I'm gonna take the transmission out first. Transmission being out of the equation, it's not all-wheel drive, it's rear-wheel drive, so I don't have axles going through the oil pan, so I'm not gonna have to touch the front suspension at all. Transmission out, exhaust out, all the hoses out in the bottom, and then I'm gonna start stripping as much as I can, taking all the cowl panels out. I'm gonna leave it down to the block, right? I'm gonna take fuel injectors out, lines, harness, intake, fan, all this plastics around, alternator, belt, everything, and make the engine smaller as I can so I can pull it out with the crane, as bare as possible. And AC compressor, instead of taking the Freon out, I'm just gonna lay it to the side with the hoses. This way I don't have to recharge afterwards. So like I say, I'm gonna try to make my life as much easy as possible so I can, put this thing back together with no time. Stay tuned. I'm gonna be doing a time lapse so you guys can see, real quick, pulling this thing out. What's up, guys? So I'm gonna drain the oil on this N54, which was knocking, you guys saw in the beginning of the video. I highly believe that the cause of this was a fuel injector failure. Fuel injector was probably leaking with the previous owner, because this guy just bought this car. So I'm assuming the previous owner had a fuel injector problem, fuel injector leaking. They replaced the fuel injector, but they replaced it too late, and it was leaking fuel onto the piston rings down to the oil. This oil, I don't know, I'm assuming, but I highly believe that the owner got the car, replaced the oil filter, but the oil still smells like gas. Once you do an oil change, all the oil don't come out. You still, you still have a little bit left in the engine. So I'm assuming there was a lot of gas in the oil, which is the reason why, it causes the oil to lose its viscosity, and you will fail. And it's very thin. I'm gonna drain it right now, but just from the oil return line from the turbos, just the little bit that fell off, I noticed that it was so thin and smelled like fuel. Right away, I could tell. I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to see, but this oil is cold and it's not supposed to be this thin. Hopefully you guys will be able to see, but it's very thin and smells very much like fuel. So this was the cause of the rod bearings failure. When I took the oil filter out, there was a lot of metal shavings in the oil filter. I'm gonna pull it out and I'll show you guys how much metal shavings is in this thing. And when I scanned the car previously, before taking the engine out, I had vanos faults, and I noticed that the vanos weren't adjusting as they should. So all those metal shavings went up to the vanos gears, vanos solenoids, and messed everything up. So yeah, I still smell it. The smell is very strong here. So there's fuel contamination in the oil. And this was the reason why it caused the failure. So if you guys have any problems with misfire fuel injector, make sure you not only replace the bad fuel injector, but do an oil change. Always check your oil. These cars are a little bit difficult because there's no dipstick, so it's hard for you to check the oil. Sometimes, you know, the other cars that have a dipstick, you can just pull it out, you smell it. If you smell any fuel, you replace it right away. But yeah, this is it. This is the cause.